on our thoughts on the Imagineering Story episode 2, which is known as What Would Walt Do? So this was a very powerful episode. When I was watching this, I kind of felt, right, I've got a clear idea what I want to do. We could talk about, the Haunted Mansion, talk about the works on Walt Disney World, and then towards the end of it, it was kind of like, whoa, oh my god, this is going completely the other direction. I was talking about, how a takeover sphere of the company, how they were having an impact on the Imagineering side, and what? At the end of it, I literally went, wow. Because that packed a punch. And this was only episode 2. So, wow. So, I'm going to do my best. I'm going to stick to what I originally planned to do, and we'll see how far we get. Okay, so episode 2 pretty much picks up where we left up towards the end of episode 1, which was they were talking about how Walt's passing in 1966 had a big impact on the company because they felt that their leader and their guide, the person who they drew inspiration from, was now gone, and they were like thinking, oh my, what do we do next? And what they did do next is that they thought, right, what would want us to carry on? And that's what we're going to do. And they carry on with some of the works that Walt was focusing on, like for example, the Haunted Mansion, and obviously Project X, which was what was being referred to Walt Disney World, and how we also see Roy Disney's supervision over the construction and opening of the Walt Disney World and Magic Kingdom. So what I think was quite interesting was how, because Walt's plan for Epcot was very, very ambitious. But what I think was quite interesting was how they, at first, decided not to focus on Epcot and just get Epcot. And instead focused on building a second Magic Kingdom as part of Walt Disney World, which opened in October 1971. And what I found fascinating was, which I'm going to get to straight away, was because obviously he listened to our last show we did on the Imagineering Story. What I from episode 1, what I loved was how with this series I'm learning stuff, even though most of what I know, what's been coming in this show, I know. Because like I said to you on the episode we did about episode 1, I knew a lot already about the opening of Disneyland, but there were still quite a fair few bits in it that I thought, wow, I'm learning so much that I didn't already knew. And I was wondering, is that going to hold up for all 6 episodes? If it is, that's great. That's great, because even if you do, like me, think you know everything you know about a certain topic, well, there's always that one little tiny thing that you didn't know, and you go, wow, well, I never knew that. Yes, brilliant. And that, so for me in episode 2, that, well, I never knew that moment was Maypo. So, just in case you're not familiar with what Maypo is, Maypo was, now let me try and find the definition of it. So Maypo is basically taken from Mary Poppins, and in fact it helped to fund Mary Poppins. So Maypo was created to house the people who were working on the then new audio animatronics figures that Disney was developing, which included the singing Robin in Mary Poppins, and all the figures for the Disney exhibit at the 1964 World Fair. And pretty much the saying was, if it was at Disney Park, then Maypo probably built it. So it was so fascinating. We got to see inside Maypo and just see how this magical hub that was being used to make all these audio animatronics was right? Which of course, that technology was still fairly new at the time. Um, Nowadays, in the 2020s, it's pretty much, pretty much got an idea what all animatronics are. But back in when Maypo was born, which was in the mid 60s, which was using some of the puppets that Disney made from the movie Mary Poppins, hence the name. So May, which was the first letters of Mary, and Po for the first two letters of Poppins. So that's how it got its name. Because it was used because it was built with some of the puppets made from the movie version of Mary Poppins, which I found really fascinating. Which was created to house the people who were working on the then new animatronics, because as I've mentioned. And from there, Maker would go on to build all of the figures and show these that for all of the Disney park attractions for many, many, many years. They made all sorts of things over the years, from pirates to presidents, from dinosaurs to Dreamfinder, from Country Bears to Captain Rex, and so on and so on and so on. I could go on. Mapo built ride vehicles and even whole ride systems. And it even built the locomotives and passenger cars of the Fort Wilderness Railroad. So like I said, if it was a Disney park, Mapo probably built it. So I just thought that for me was my one big fascinating thing from the whole thing, just to learn. It was just amazing, because I never even knew about Mapo. I never knew about it. So just so amazing to learn about that. Now, most of the episode did focus on the development of the Haunted Mansion and obviously Walt Disney World, in particular Epcot. Because even though the company were at first a bit skeptical to take on Epcot, because obviously Herbert was passing, it was his big, and they wanted to get Magic Kingdom done first, that second Magic Kingdom. They eventually did build Epcot, and all the work that goes into it. Wow. But let's just talk about Haunted Mansion briefly first. I am not a fan of Halloween. Never have been. Not been. I've always made sure I'm out of the house on Halloween to avoid trick-or-treaters, because we all get at least one. We all get at least one that comes bang on the door, and you're just like, if we don't answer it, they'll probably go away. They eventually do. But yeah, so like me, you go out of the house sort of early evening, you pretty much avoided most of them, because all the kids will probably have school the next day, and you better got to worry about those youths who were muck about, because they were still doing Halloween for them. So even though I'm not a big fan of all things scary and haunted, what I did actually quite love was just seeing how all the work that went into making that, and how and just seeing what it did. Because a lot of the things that are in the Haunted Mansion, you think, for the time it was being built, you thought, wow, that is really, really ambitious, and that is well off the scale. And you think, well, only Disney could do something like that. Well, they did. So I just loved it, and I loved how he got all the Imagineers talking about her, but that her mom was used to be one of the actors in it, and she was always talking about how when her grandkids when she took her kids, she would always like make them go, "Hey, hi to grandma," and they were like, "What's that?" And she would call about how, why is that lady telling kids to say hi, grandma? Love that, love it. So it's a lot of those little tiny little secrets where you go, oh, I know. I wonder if she ever told people in the park that, oh, it's because I don't think I would. I'd leave them guess. I would leave them guessing. But yeah, it's just so wonderful. Yeah, all the detail went into that work, because it's quite a scary thing to me. It captures the spirit of Halloween very brilliantly. But let's focus on Epcot, because after that we do then get to see Mocha about how the company then went about going with building Epcot, and my work that goes into Epcot, because it's completely different to anything we see at the time, because Epcot was more about educating and thinking about the technology of the future. I loved that one bit. I loved one bit in the show where they were having they showed footage from an interview when Epcot was open, and the reporter said to one of the people in charge, like, do you think we'll ever see these technologies maybe being used every day? We could actually own them. And he was like, well, maybe we can, but when we do have them, we need to then figure something bold. And I was like thinking, well, surprise, surprise, most of the technology probably we've got that's probably in Epcot now, we probably already have. Like touchscreens, for example. Back at the time, so of Epcot opening, touchscreens was still not really that really well known. It was something you thought, oh, you'd go up and go, oh, wow, look at that. And you just, that. Nowadays, of course, anybody has a touchscreen. Because a lot of people, because everybody probably has at least one touchscreen device. Whether it's a smartphone, it's a tablet, or an iPod. Yes, others still do own them. Me included, I'm one of them. We've all got at least one, at the very least, at least one touchscreen device we own. But I just found that a bit funny because I'm like thinking, oh, if only they were here now. If only they were here now, they saw the technological advances we've had developed. And I think you probably could easily go to Epcot now and be like, yep, I've got one of those, I've got one of those, got one of those. Yeah. So I do love how Epcot, the design that went into it, particularly that globe. Wow. And I can't believe it took 26 months to build that. 26 months. That's well over 2 years. Like, wow. Oh my word. But it does look absolutely stunning. So then towards the end of the show, now I'm wondering if this is teasing what's coming up next. Because towards the end of episode 1, they were sort of like teasing us what was happening for the next episode, which of course will be focusing on what would do, because at the end of the first episode they referenced about what's passing, how it affect the company. And I did think at the end of episode 1, thinking towards episode 1 coming close, thinking, I wonder if this is something going to come on the next episode. And surprise, surprise, at the start of it was. So I'm just wondering if the topics towards the end of this second episode are they going to be talked about in episode 3, which was the company's first big international expansion, which was Tokyo. Now, if you ask me to name all the Disney parks in the world, I can do it. Anaheim, Florida, Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, and Shanghai. With Shanghai being the recent. I can name them all. Ask me to name them all in the timeline they opened, that would be a bit more tricky. Because I always assumed it was Paris, not Tokyo, that came first. In terms of internationals. Because Paris is the one that I've been to the most. I live in Manchester, England. I've been born and raised in Manchester, England. So obviously for me, Paris is the closest of all 6. And I do love visiting it every now and then. That has, it also, obviously, with the pandemic, it's been tough. Long to get back out there. It's been too long. Don't should never. Once you've caught that Disney park bug, you need to feed it. You cannot stay away for a very long period of time. You can have maybe like a year off to sort of recharge, but you leave your next trip from your last one too long, it's gonna fester and it's gonna play in your mind, and that's definitely what the COVID-19 pandemic has done with me. Because my last business price was 2019, so just before the pandemic was going to happen. It has been tough, but I'm now starting to feel like, oh, I really need to get back out there, but of course, not yet. Hopefully this year, or not, definitely next year, because next year's 30th. So I accidentally, I've always thought it was Paris, then it was Tokyo, and then the Hong Kong China was last. But no, Tokyo came first, then I think it was Paris. Or I might have got that wrong. Because I don't know when Hong Kong opened. I know when Paris opened, 1992. I don't know when Hong Kong opened. Do what? By the time we do the next one, episode 3, I'll look up the timeline. I'll do it for you. So, Um, so towards the end of this episode 2, we got to hear about the company's first international expansion, which was into Tokyo, who, well, very fascinating that they were desperate to have their own Disney park. It was amazing. And the company, this was actually a very big challenge because because obviously, they've had as they put it, they've had the safety of being in America, where we've got all these big lands, we can do it. Now we're taking the big risk of putting what we've known to practice, but taking that into a different country, a different market, where we have to learn about their cultures. So you can't just simply replicate what you've done in the two Disney parks in America and expect the Japanese to love it. No, you've got to understand the Japanese culture. You've got to learn what the Japanese like, what they think is going to work well, and they did. It was very fascinating how they managed to work harmony together, both sides and managed to work out all these deals that would help to make sure the project would go smoothly. And of course, it did go smoothly. And Tokyo's Disney. It's now known as Tokyo Disney Sea, but on the episodes it was Tokyo Disneyland. So it opened. Let me just talk. It opened in. Tokyo. Oh, Tokyo Disneyland. Tokyo Disney Sea is a different park. That's confusing because I've always heard about Tokyo Disney Sea. There we go, confusion. Tokyo Disney Sea is another park. Right. So Tokyo Disneyland opened in 1983. So that's 9 years before Paris. So should we just look it up now? Because Paris, we know definitely, is 1992. Next year is its 30th birthday. And 20th birthday for the Walt Disney Studios Park. Right. So Tokyo Disneyland, note this down in your head. Tokyo Disneyland we know was 1983. Paris is definitely 1992. Let's now look at Hong Kong. So I know Shanghai is the most recent. Shanghai was 2016. So 5 years already. Wow. So Hong Kong was. Now let me make sure we've got this right. Just bear with me. Just looking it up. Because we'll make sure we've got the date right. We'll confuse it. Because in case it's got any other parks in it. Right, here we go. So, Hong Kong Disneyland opened. It opened on the 12th of September 2005. So that's 16 years now. So last year was its 50th anniversary. And Shanghai is the most recent of 2016. So there we go. So 2005. So the timeline is Anaheim, Florida, Tokyo, Paris, Hong Kong, Shanghai. Right. I'll probably forget that the moment we start recording. Yeah. So that's how towards the episode we got to see how the international expansion to Tokyo went. So I'm just wondering if maybe we're going to focus more on that in the next episode. I don't think we got to see much of that towards the end. And also towards the end was the big shock about the takeovers. Because eventually it covered how Roy eventually passed. And of course once he went, it was like, oh, right, what happens now? Because the two Disney brothers are now gone. Who do we turn to guidance? And there were a lot of takeover fears, left, right, and centre. And we did see in the end how this was having going to have a big impact on Imagineering. Quite a lot of staff were getting laid off at Christmas. And one of them mentioned how we always hated Christmas because it was like, oh, who's going to get next? Who's next on this festive culling? It was like, oh. And so that was towards the end of it, and that was where it ended on. And then when the credits were, I was like, wow! Because I was not expecting that. I genuinely was not expecting that one bit. Wow. So that was a big, big shock to end the second episode. And I think that's how we're going to end our show. Because I pretty much covered it all there. So, Episode 3 is called the Midas Touch. Now, I'm not too sure what it's going to cover on. It could make on. Although I guess if this is for the Battle of Power towards the end of one episode, it sort of leaves you off with what could potentially going to be the start of the next. Then potentially, the third episode could be at least start could be about how his takeover had a bit of an effect. But we'll see you next time. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to see more, then please do click the subscribe button. And once you've clicked it, you're never going to miss a single one when new episodes of new content comes out, including our Plus the Mouse shows. Well, until then, all left for me to say is au revoir. Hello, George Han here. Please make sure you subscribe to my channel to stay up to date with all my latest videos. Don't forget to like, send a comment below, and why not stick around to watch a few more? Go on, I highly recommend it.